Go.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. We have a really good story to tell about one of our favorite clients here, Estes Express Lines, and their journey to get from brass ring to Oracle Recruiting Cloud and everything it took to get there, and also some of their bigger initiatives that they've been doing since the go live. So lots of good things to cover. We're really going to go through the big results, the return on their investment that they saw at the end of the project, a little bit about the company history, what we set out to do, what were the success criteria for our project, and just the different ways we designed the system to actually achieve those. And then really any lessons learned that we think other clients can all benefit from in the Oracle community, followed by just a little Q&A. So with that,
Awesome.
I'll turn it over to Maurice to do a little introduction.
Thank you, David. So thank you everybody for joining today, this morning, this afternoon. I'm Area Vice President for our Transportation and Logistics vertical for Oracle for North America. First of all, I wanted to thank Estes Express for joining us today, along with ArcLight Consulting. Estes started their journey with Oracle back in 2016. Over the last 2 years, they've expanded the partnership with Oracle Recruiting Cloud with the help of ArcLight. And again, great story to share, great success. So Jonathan Bartee from Estes Express and Paul Lawhorn will share their story, their journey. And David will talk a bit about how they helped get them there with Oracle Recruiting Cloud. So thank you, everybody, and look forward to a spirited conversation and Q&A. So thank you.
All right, so maybe just to start off, Jonathan, if you don't mind kind of telling us where we landed, where you were before with some of the key stats we were measuring as our success criteria and where we are now. I think this tells a great story.
Yeah, certainly, David. Thank you. Once again, as Maurice said, my name is Jonathan Bartee. I'm the Senior Director of the Back Office and Administration Hub within our Agile organization here. I've been at Estes about 12 years. For 10 or so of those years, I was head of the critical infrastructure and support systems within Estes, and a couple of years ago, I took a more business-facing role with the IT, within being the IT leader in our Agile organization to our Back Office Hub, which includes admin, administration, HR, et cetera. Now, this is a fun story to tell here because a lot of projects sometimes some of us are involved in aren't fun to talk about, but this one certainly is. In terms of implementing Oracle, specifically ORC, we've had some fun facts here and some fun percentages. These are kind of crooked stats, but they're true, and we'll get into those later. And you can see here, I'm not going to read down the list specifically, but I kind of will. Our onboarding journey for our employees, that is, to come in as a new employee. And that's kind of a never get a second chance to make a first impression type of thing. So this is important for us and important for our employees on day one here, starting with the company. We're down to a single piece of paper on our onboarding journey, and I'm proud to say it's not within our department. It's to get their badge, which is necessary, but we're working on that. But it's down from about 40 pieces of paper, which is kind of an onerous task for employees to go through and sign here, sign there. We've got that in an automated format that an employee can go through there pretty quick, well under an hour is the time frame for that. But in terms of our applicant flows, these are pretty amazing numbers. We've increased our applicant flow by 61%, the time to fill positions by 52%, reduced the time to apply the duration of the application process by 126%, and our drop rate, meaning when someone gets into the system, starts filling out the application, gets frustrated, gets kicked off, stops doing it, whatever it might be, was reduced by 137%. And last year, we had an unpleasant cyber attack, ransomware attack, which is public information. We are able to still process candidates since this is in the cloud and independent of our systems. We are still be able to process candidates during our cyber attack, which was a huge deal. Next slide, David.
All right.
So a little bit about Estes. We're almost 100 years old. We were founded in 1931. In fact, the fourth generation of the family has just taken over in the leadership position here. We're the largest privately held freight company in North America for less than load, and we're the fourth largest overall. We've been doing this for a good while, seen some significant growth, as we'll see in the next few slides here. We service all 50 states, Canada, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Caribbean. We also do some freight forwarding to Asia and Europe through some subsidiaries we have. We have about 13,000 trucks, 41,000 trailers, 280 terminals currently, And things that make my head hurt, thinking about 55,000 shipments a day equaling about 70 million pounds. Logistics are amazing here. We're increasing our lie in terms of our data provided to our customers, our real-time visibility, how we track our freight movement, how we become more efficient in our freight movement, and how we just get better daily with leveraging technology for our freight movement and our visibility processes. About 24,000 employees. We tipped that mark a few weeks ago, which is a milestone for us. And again, 93 years of doing this. We are founded in Chaite City, Virginia, and moved to Richmond, Virginia, a number of years later, but we've been in Richmond, Virginia a long time, and that's where our national headquarters is. Next slide, David. We've gotten a lot of awards. In terms of the non-transportation awards we got, we're proud to talk about some of these. The Greatest Workplace for Diversity this year from Newsweek magazine, Forbes, America's Best Large Employers. We're particularly proud locally of the top workplaces in 2024 from the Richmond Times-Dispatch, the local newspaper. We've been competing with our friends for CarMax and Dominion Energy for a number of years and finally got the #1 large employer in Richmond, Virginia. So we're proud of that. Top 10 company for women to work in terms of Women in Trucking Association. Sustainability and Pathfinder for some of our green initiatives from Transport Topics, which is an industry trade journal, and Greatest Workplaces for Women Award from Newsweek for this year rather as well. Next slide, David. About our company values, again, we're a family-owned private company, and you know, we hear this a lot about family-inspired culture, but I've been here 12 years, by far the longest I've been anywhere, and it's really true. It's very, I call it the biggest mom and pop shop I've ever worked in. It really is family first and family values here within the company. Stability and experience, we are a debt-free company. We're very fiscally conservative, but leverage our resources when needed to grow for all the right reasons. Safety, we've obviously got a lot of trucks on the road. We've got a lot of people moving heavy things. We're very passionate about our safety record and keeping our employees safe. Innovation, our culture does embrace innovation. And remember, innovation is not just technology. It's about people as well and thinking about better ways to do things with and without technology. Integrity and trust. We consider ourselves a very honest company and very transparent with our internal and external audiences. We do equip our people, north, south, east, and west within our organization to make decisions for the right reasons and stick by those decisions. Encourage and determination, especially during the cyber attack and during COVID, we witnessed this about people stepping up and doing things under very adverse circumstances. We have a mantra, a saying here, we're striving to make shipping frictionless for our employees and our customers, reduce friction on both sides of the equation. Next slide, please, David. A map of where we service, including Alaska and Hawaii. Not much to say here that I haven't said previously, so we can go on, David. Our growth over the last few years. I got here in 2012, and I like to think this is because I've been at Estes, but despite the fact I've been at Estes, look at this growth pattern for us. We're growing debt-free from about 2012 when I started was about 1.6 billion all the way through this past year. We're going to be a little bit around 5.2 billion in revenue, maybe a little higher, maybe a little lower, but around that number is what they're projecting this year. 2023 number might be a little optimistic on this chart, but it's going to be in the neighborhood certainly for 2024. Next slide, David. Our terminal growth has been steady to commensurate with our revenue. The number of doors we service today, doors being, of course, the dock doors at the terminals, are about 12,000 across our freight infrastructure. And our number of terminals is around 280 to 300 by the end of this year. Next slide. This is a reiteration of our door growth over time, some terminals that we've opened. We're opening a lot of terminals in 2024. We acquired some of Yellow Freight's assets, about 31 terminals, if I recall correctly. Just in terms of just from the Yellow assets, we've also had our own growth independent of that. Next slide. We're also doing things to try to help our environment and help our sustainability initiatives and not burn as much fuel and produce as much pollution. We're using electronic forklifts, about 400 of them. These have been pretty good for us across our organization. We're rolling more and more out every day to get rid of our propane forklifts where we can and utilize electric forklifts. We're also partnering and experimenting with Remora down there at the bottom. And that's technology that captures the carbon from the diesel exhaust directly from the truck and packages it for commercial reuse. There's some use cases for that. I believe concrete manufacturing is one of them, but there's others. You can check out Remora at their website. Next slide. We're also increasing our presence in the solar energy. We've got big roofs on terminals, obviously, a great place to put solar panels. We've got 10 terminals right now with heavy solar panels and solar usage on them. We're planning to get to about 40 terminals there at the bottom, not only for cost savings, but also to lessen our environmental footprint. Next slide. It's just a picture of our Greensboro, North Carolina terminal and how much solar coverage we got there on the roof there.
A lot of panels.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's pretty cool stuff. We're also experimenting with alternative fuel vehicles, especially in California. Renewable natural gas, we've got about 70 of those. We've also got about 180 compressed natural gas. Those are different things, but we're definitely experimenting with them and getting pretty good use out of the natural gas components. But we're also experimenting down below in bold with 50 electric trucks in California. I'd say for city runs, they're there, not quite there for longer term runs at this point. They are quite expensive at this point, but the cost is coming down every day and the technology is increasing every day. So we're hoping we get some really good results in the future with the electric trucks, not only for us, but also for the environment and our growth. Next slide, David. So in IT, we got a new CIO about 4 years ago, doing really good things here. We have a mnemonic of trucks, and it's appropriate being that we're a trucking company. But these are beliefs and mantras we try to live by day in the decisions we make and our interactions with our fellow employees. Of transparency, not just what we're doing, but why we're doing it. Responsiveness and resiliency. How quickly can we address problems? Resiliency. How quickly can we recover or not be impacted by problems? Understanding, not just understanding our technology from the IT side, but partnering with our business and sitting with those that consume our work as customers, right? Whether that be operations or HR, administration, we need to understand what the business units are facing, what their pain points are every day, what opportunities there are, and we're incenting our people and requiring our people and our employees with goals to sit with our business partners, to sit with those that you're working for and understand what they do holistically. Continuous improvement, just like it sounds, we don't have to hit home runs all the time. We can hit base hits, to use a baseball analogy, but getting better every day and finding ways to get better incrementally gets to large gains in the future. And knowledge sharing, we don't want individuals or heroes with capes, if you will. We want to spread the love. We want to spread the knowledge. We want to make sure more than one person understands critical things, and that betters the whole organization. And finally, simplicity is the S in trucks. Make it simple, keep it simple where we can. You know, we don't have to build Rube Goldberg devices. We don't have to build complicated things. Perfect is the enemy of good, as they say. We can go to the next slide, David.
Okay.
Our Oracle journey here started with finance, as we can see on the top left there, around 2016. It seems like a long time ago, but it seems like yesterday. We quickly moved to HCM, Human Capital Management, with HR, benefits, and payroll. We moved off a Lawson system at the time. Moving on to CDM and procurement, and bettering HCM and ERP, stabilization periods into our journey into ORC, which we'll talk about with Paul here in a couple minutes, and getting to our outcome of getting ORC live from 2022 to 2023. Next slide, David.
All right, so I think this is where we're going to introduce our friend Paul here, who actually runs talent acquisition at Estes. And you know, just to reiterate what Jonathan mentioned at the start, I don't know, Paul, if you have anything special to say about these stats before we talk about the design that made this possible, if something you want to share.
Well, no, I mean, I think the numbers speak for themselves specifically, and I already know there is one question out there about it, but we were really proud of these stats and the things that we put in place that we'll talk about as we get through there, that will kind of explain some of these numbers. So I'm good to go.
Let's dive in then. So, the things that really drove Estes to make this change, to seek out a new applicant tracking system, we still have all this noted from kind of the pre-sales discovery period. Estes took their time, as you should, right? You should shop around different products, different system implementers, do your due diligence. And if you want to kind of give some of that backstory, Paul, I think there's a lot to offer here.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we sat down and we started looking at a new applicant tracking system or bettering our candidate experience, manager experience, recruiter experience, trying to get better in all ways, there was some things that we had kind of put down on paper and started thinking about and what we wanted. And we wanted to create that better experience for those potential candidates, recruiters, and managers. Our current at the time, progress through Brass Ring was our ATS prior to ORC. It was very complicated, very disjointed. There wasn't a lot of flow from one program to another. We spent more time than we should have trying to build an onboarding experience, moving from Brass Ring into Oracle, and it was just never able to come to fruition. So we started thinking that the recruitment team and such needs better tools to do the job more efficiently and build that experience out. We wanted to reduce the time from an onboarding perspective, as we were still all manual paper. Every piece of a new hire was just papers. So finding ways to reduce that paper, move to an electronic means for personnel files, talent management, talent optimization, etc. And we wanted to be recognized as an employer of choice in the field. We wanted to have a better career site and a recruitment process and the first interactions with new hires. As I'm sure you all are aware, in the labor market, the first one to get to them usually is the first one to win. So trying to really be that in the industry, as Jonathan already mentioned, you never get that second chance to make the first impression. So how do we get recognized? We wanted to be recognized as that leader in the industry. So we decided we needed a more modern and engaging career site, a world-class candidate experience, and building the CRM and talent communities all into one, as we weren't before. We had multiple different systems doing things, and better tracking of our referrals. We're very proud of our referral program for our dock and drivers and mechanics. So, and we hire a lot of referrals. So we needed a better way of tracking that other than just the manually way we were tracking it. Next slide, David.
All right.
So how we chose ORC. We knew that we wanted to reduce that onboarding time and the system. And we just felt after all the demos and all the time that we spent that the system would make it easier. We were already on the HCM and, the finance side, and we felt that they had the tools and we liked the tools that we were needing in our processes in our day. We evaluated it twice and didn't feel comfortable with the product in the past. And this time, with the enhancements that Oracle's been able to put out there and put through and really, put out, we enjoyed it this time. And that is one of the reasons that we chose. And it would just streamline our processes through automation and a single platform to increase that proficiency and reduce all the times that we've already talked about and from that entire process, from the time they apply to the time they retire. And it was a single source truth platform of truth now, as to where before it wasn't. We had multiple systems, as I mentioned. And why did we choose ArcLight? We had vetted multiple vendors, and we really felt that we had found a vendor who had the experience and the expertise in their consultants, as David being one of which, that we were really comfortable and we really enjoyed the things that you brought to the table. It's not about the price. They took time to meet extensively before we made this decision. They flew into Richmond multiple times. They really made sure that it was a partnership that worked not only for us, but it was also a good partnership for them. They challenged us, more importantly, I think. They challenged us to not think the way that we always thought and really help us try to understand our business, help them understand our business. So asking us things like, why do we have to do it this way? Why don't we try it this way? This is a better way of doing it, or not necessarily a better, but this is a more streamlined way of doing it. They really challenged us and they pushed back on our processes, saying that, you know, hey, if you changed it and did it this way, it will work much better with Oracle the way that it is. Next slide.
Right. Yeah, thank you for those words, Paul. You know, very much appreciated. And I think the point you made about the integration or lack thereof of bringing your applicant tracking system in-house with all your other HCM modules, we hear that time and time again from clients. You know, they might be looking at third-party systems that may have a few bells or whistles that Oracle doesn't, but you can't beat the seamless end-to-end story you get from, say, a lead as a prospect in a campaign or a hiring event, all the way to a job application, all the way to an offer, which then becomes a profile with no integration, no custom maintenance or heavy lifting. That is something clients say, you just cannot beat that. So I think it's a great point to mention. And so a little bit about, you know, we understood everything Estes was dealing with as current pain points, the things they wanted to do. Just to show an example of the project plan that we set out from the beginning after signing the contract and starting the project. This was the time frame that we did following our standard methodology at ArcLight. We always like to start with our cloud architectural design phase, as we call it. It's sort of a pre-design phase before the actual design, just to make sure that everything we heard during the sales cycle is accurate. If anything's changed, let's find out what that is. Make sure that the scope that we understood during pre-sales discovery truly is accurate. We don't need more or less time or more or less budget. And one thing that we actually did coming towards the end of the project, which I think is a great move and a lot of clients could benefit from, you know, you have to make sure that you have the budget for it and the time. Of course, there are hard deadlines like you're losing a license, but Estes actually wanted to do a pilot program and extend the project by a month and just actually have only 5 terminals go live initially for that month. They were our guinea pig to test out everything that we had done prototypes with and SIT and UAT, see if we really hit the nail on the head, take the feedback from those terminals, and then really get it right for the other nearly 300 terminals that joined them. And in that time, if you can believe it, we actually had 2 career sites live in tandem. We had the main one that, you know, Estes was already live on prior to our project, getting the same talent it always did. But there was a redirect and a big banner saying, hey, if you want to apply for a job at these locations in Utah, Colorado, etc., click here. And it routed you to the Oracle career site and vice versa. That one had a redirect to the main site if you were looking for jobs with the greater population. So bit of a juggling act, but we really pulled it off, and it made this one of the smoothest go lives I've ever seen. So it really is something to consider if your timeline can afford it and you're not held to any strict dates with your old product's license. And then to speak to what Paul said, and you know, even Jonathan with the IT core values, we embody a lot of the same thing. And these are the guiding principles that we like to preach to our customers. And when we ran this by Estes, they were all on board. We had all the right people in there, whether it was the CIO, CHRO, directors of payroll, benefits, HR, talent acquisition, obviously, you name it. We got everybody's buy-in we needed, amazing participation. You know, there were no siloed groups. Everybody was collaborating and everybody signed off on everything that was important enough to warrant that many eyes on it, right? We also were going with Oracle's best practices. If there was something that, you know, there was a better way of doing it in Oracle and you had to rethink things you've been doing for years and years, we had those conversations, right? We were not customizing things, really making sure that we were not putting our timeline at risk. These were the things that really made this implementation successful, and we think it's worth really preaching this for any project. So going through a few concrete examples of how Estes enabled that vision, going through, you know, Paul said this was the problem. This is how we solved it, right? So looking at some of these different images, the first thing was their career site. Estes was very proud of their career site, which was maintained by a third party. They had to spend a good amount of money for that on a recurring basis. And they didn't own the site to the point where they could just go in and change an image or update a paragraph or move certain blocks around. They were completely at the mercy of the third party that was running the site for them. So with Oracle, you can bring all that in-house. And the only thing they asked us was that you please keep it looking the way we have it now, because it looks great and we're very proud of it. And we're very happy to say that Oracle was able to handle that. Even with custom CSS coding or HTML here and there, most of it was just the drag and drop career site builder that we're all pretty familiar with as current Oracle clients may be. We're happy to say that we were able to move their site over. And, just so we can see how it looks a little bit without actually going there, but obviously more than welcome to take a look, right? I think the site looks great, and it does have some flashy things going on with a little bit of CSS and HTML. But again, there's a lot you can do with these career sites without knowing any of that coding. So just moving along here. Another thing they had as a third party was a third party candidate relationship management system, which many clients do. There aren't too many applicant tracking systems that do both, the applicant tracking and the candidate relationship part. You kind of have to marry those two together either manually or build pretty tricky custom interfaces so that you get your lead data and your applicant data. But now Estes is doing that all out of Oracle Recruiting. It's all in one solution. And they've had some pretty successful campaigns. If you want to talk a little bit about this one here, Paul, the Forbes one, or others.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, David. We were very proud and very happy that Oracle offered both, because it does offer, as we've spoke about, that automation and that seamless transition and being able to see those things. This is just one of our campaigns for the Forbes Best Large Employers. And as you can see for this particular one, almost 20,000 emails were sent, 12,000 were opened, over 1,800 were actually clicked on. But just looking at all, some of the others for just our summer brand campaign, there was 44,000 emails sent. We had a 50% open rate for that, 6% click-through rate. But more importantly, we only had a 0.2% bounce rate or a 0.2% unsubscribe rate. So we were very, very happy overall with the metrics in our first summer with the CRM piece being, within Oracle's platform. So a lot of good success so far with the campaigns.
Yeah, as you can see, a lot of people not only open this, but actually click the link to go look for a job, which is great. And the system will give you that level of insight. It even tells the end-to-end story if the person who clicked that applies to a job and if they got hired. You get a different kind of look at the time to fill all the way back to when they were a prospect in that sense. So then I think another one, this is one of the biggest ones I think that helped Estes more than anything. I don't know if you agree, Paul, it was probably the automated interview scheduling. If you want to talk a little bit about this one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That one helped us out quite a lot. As you can imagine, in the past with no automation or anything like that, managers were getting applications passed over to them, and then they were, calling people 700 times, trying to connect with them, schedule interviews and get through that. So one of the things that we really liked with the booster and other things is, candidates being able to manage their own interviews based off of the manager's availability within Oracle and within their calendar. So by enabling this, what we've done is when we pass the candidates over, the managers are able to move them forward in the process, and it automatically sends that candidate a link for them to actually click on it and see the manager's calendar and their schedule and when they would be available for an interview. And they can schedule their own interviews. The recruiters add these templates and the schedules on each requisition. And then the managers, all they have to do is just move them, and then it goes fine. And so far, what we've seen up through the end of last month or so, we've actually seen a 62% decrease in the amount of no-call, no-shows for interviews. And some of the follow-up that we've done, reaching back out to candidates, new hires and things, is what they've told us is, well, I'm the one who made that schedule and I felt more inclined to be there. And so what we're finding is because they are responsible for their own interview schedule and their own interview times, they're more likely to show up, in our experience, as they're not trying to placate somebody else's schedule. They're actually choosing a time that they know works for them. So this has been crucial for us to see better turnouts for interviews, and we're not missing as many interviews.
Absolutely. You know, we really were able to kind of take the middleman out where you once had to manually figure out availability. Giving the candidates that self-service is priceless. So then, you know, speaking of what Jonathan mentioned about going entirely paperless, the way we were able to do that is what many Oracle customers are doing, right? With Oracle journeys, you know, what was once Oracle checklists or onboarding. And it has allowed them to make a personalized onboarding experience for drivers and non-drivers. You know, the amount of paperwork that drivers have to sign is different from folks who might just be working in the professional office or the back home office kind of work, right? Where we were able to make different tasks assigned to people automatically based on the job they have, the department that they're in, or the particular office that they're reporting to might need you to sign different things than other offices, right? So all of that has been automated, and it is now completely paperless. So, you know, the onboarding experience has definitely sped up and improved all around. And it's not just for onboarding at this point. You know, the team is having it serve them for offboarding, transfers, promotions. It really is dynamic for all those different scenarios. And then thinking about another product that Oracle offers in the journeys realm, it's a different type of journey, though. This isn't for onboarding people or helping them move into a new role or offboarding. This is actually a journey meant to help you just on any of the given pages within the system, where it might be a little tricky the first time you do it and you need some just-in-time training. You may not know where that one pager is that was pushed out for training when you initially were supposed to learn it. Lo and behold, it's on the page for you. And there's a button that says, you know, guide me, click here before you attempt to draft this job offer, let's say. And when you click that, the one pager can actually be embedded into the user interface so that you can see it before you perform the transaction. That could also be a video, could be an image, it could be, there are other use cases too. You can have it show you reports. If there's relevant data, maybe from another part of the system that you need to read before you actually go do that transaction, it'd be nice if you just had the report you need right there without navigating to the reporting module within Oracle. That's the benefit of these guided journeys, really just helping with user adoption from one page to another. And then, you know, I did see a point about in the Q&A about the benefits for drivers specifically. This might be a good opportunity to speak to that, Paul, where we really were able to personalize the different styles of job applications. And I mean, this was where that time to fill cut down so much, right? The amount of time drivers used to have to spend filling these out. If you could tell us that story.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad we came to this. I was actually getting ready to type some things in there to answer that. So, as you know, with drivers, they require more than other types of candidates, given the DOT requirements and the FMCSR and different things. And with Oracle, we were able to customize in the extra info section almost a completely customized app flow, if you will, for the drivers specifically to those positions, with the work experience, the accidents, traffic violations, their driver's license, etc. And what we did was we were able to actually break those down and get what was required, but not more than what was required. So by doing so, and you know, I answered one of the other questions about that reduced time to fill, is we had our application for drivers was a little over 40, on average, a little over 45 minutes. It was closer to 46.5 minutes long by the time they got through all the pages and all the work experiences and all the other things. And right now we're averaging for an application, we're averaging a little over 12 minutes, somewhere in that ballpark. And by cutting a lot of that down, and to answer your question, Connie, specifically, you know, also some of the integrations that third-party vendors, excuse me, have with Oracle that we didn't have before, such as Indeed, ZipRecruiter, and so on, with their things that, pull directly from their Indeed account or their ZipRecruiter account or whatever, that pre-fills 90% of the application. We also use, it's not on here, but we do use the RChili integration with resume parsing. We found that it works very well. And a lot of the applications are pre-filled. Beforehand, in the old applicant tracking system, they had to create an account. They had to, get all those and remember passwords. We don't have that anymore with Oracle. And, because of all of those things, we've been able to drastically change the experience from a driver perspective. As most of them are on the road and they are working through those, trying to do it the best they can on their phone. Our old system was not terribly mobile friendly. Nothing compared to an Oracle perspective when they're filling out the application. It's extremely mobile friendly. So though all those things combined have really helped us reduce our driver total time to fill out an application, and specifically drivers. Hopefully that answers your question. And David, that's kind of the piece there.
Yeah. And, we're aware that a lot of clients are turning to third parties when they work with the DOT and relying on a third party software to handle this questionnaire. This just goes to show you can get that questionnaire into Oracle. The job application can support it. The delivered work history section, there were a couple reasons that couldn't handle it, but like Paul said, we use what's called the application extra info that you can build custom fields on your candidate's job applications. And like Paul said, those still get recycled and travel with the candidate the same way the delivered Oracle work experience fields do. So they do not need to keep entering 10 years of history every single time, even though it's in some of the custom tables within Oracle. So, if anybody ever had questions, how could we get the DOT questionnaire into our job application? Estes is a very good case that you could look at right at their career site. Some other things we did, a lot of clients are interested in more automation, better guardrails to preserve data integrity, make sure people aren't doing mismatches of a legal entity with the wrong business unit or department, or making sure that the right pay grades get selected, things that can go wrong in certain situations. We built a fair amount of autocompletes for this project. It was something in the realm of 15 or so. One of the biggest ones that helped the team more than anything was the pay transparency laws. All of us have to be concerned with that now in the world of talent acquisition, and Estes operates in all 50 states, so they certainly are subject to it. And so one of the first and foremost requirements was, please, can you make sure that data from our pay grades automatically defaults a field on the requisition and then goes out to the career site as a candidate facing, here is what the pay range for this role is. And with Oracle's autocomplete functionality, we were able to do that. Also built plenty of examples that they weren't defaulting data, they were throwing you errors or warnings when you did things the wrong way, like choosing the wrong workforce structures matching before you went to hire somebody. So really good guardrails throughout the system, lots of defaulting of data so that things went very quickly. Another example similar to that, Estes actually integrated with a third party for job description management. They were still big fans of Oracle's talent profiles and model profiles that you can put on the jobs, but they do have a tool that actually does market research and helps craft job descriptions, helps figure out, how much they should be paid for a certain role, and kind of updates that daily, does a lot of very strict version control, and they're very happy with that tool, right? So it was critical that we could get a daily interface running between Oracle's job description management, which would be the source of truth for all things talent acquisition coming out of Oracle, but just getting it from JD Expert on a daily basis, twice a day. So we were able to do that. That was a significant interface completed in this project. And then here's an image of that referral bonus report that Paul was talking about, the need to be able to pay referral bonuses. If you want to tell the group about this, Paul.
Yeah, so the way that it worked in the past was every week we'd pull a report of referrals, and then we'd have to butt that up against Oracle to make sure that they were hired and make sure everyone was where they needed to be, still in active status and things. And then somebody on our team would then have to send it to payroll. Payroll would have to load it. So we really wanted a way to kind of automate that. And Oracle provided that. We were able to actually track that through the referral as people send them the refer a candidate link and things. As it tracks that through there, what's more is it was built in a way that we were able to actually build this report. So our referral program works on 6 months, 1 year, et cetera. And what it'll do is anyone who came through as a referral at that 6 month mark of their hire date, it will actually look for that person and the person that referred them to make sure that they're active, they're in the same job codes, et cetera. And then if they are, it will automatically send the report to payroll and we never have to do it. So we were able to automate that process to be able to go through and not have to manually track referrals.
Yeah, definitely a useful tool. So payroll never misses a referral bonus this way, even with the 6 month delay between when they were actually hired. This might be another good one to talk to about the benefits for drivers, Paul, with populating their personnel file
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
job application.
Yeah, no worries, David. Thank you. So, as some of you don't know, I'm not sure, but all drivers require a driver qualification file or a DQ file. And being able to print the job application is very important because it is a part of that. So in past, we had to actually, get print from 14 different places and different things. But with Oracle, it's nice because once you get to the application, you just go up to the actions and hit print, and then you choose what you need or you may not need. And by doing this, we had it all. And once you choose what you need and hit the print button, it comes up in a single PDF, and you just scroll through it, and it has everything that you have from a job printing application.
Thank you, Paul. So looking at maybe one other tool here that, if you don't mind speaking to, I think this more so helps the recruiters more on the back end, right?
Yes, absolutely. And this is a dashboard that ArcLight builds themselves for their clients, and it has helped us tremendously. It takes all of our phases and states specifically, and it puts them in a dashboard, as you can see there. And the recruiters really starting in their day, almost every day in this dashboard. And they will go through their states that need their attention, such as the new, that means, how many new resumes they have to, applications or whatever, how many people they still have in screening status, interviews, different things. And it really helps them as they can drill down into them instead of having to go through and work through requisitions specifically. They could actually click on that 126 and start working through those candidates one at a time if they wanted to. If they needed to follow up, it helps them with follow up with, offers that are maybe extended, but they still haven't been accepted and they've been sitting there for 1 or 2 days, they can follow up with those. The other, components to the dashboard there on the right is that bar chart, if you will. It lets them know that after X amount of days, those bars start turning red, saying these people have been sitting there more than X amount of days, and that's not good. Has that follow-up been done? Have we reached out? Are we still pushing to try to keep these candidates moving? Is the manager on vacation and that's why they're sitting there? Various things. And it goes through different charts and different graphs just to, you all drill down information that you can go into, and it helps even the supervisors and myself go do audits. And, once we drill into these, we can then click and, see if the recruiters are doing follow-up or not. And then following up on our staff accordingly to make sure that it's getting done. So it's really been helpful. It's something that ArcLight built. And the recruiters start and end their day in there.
Yeah, we've found a lot of success with this, for our clients. And the nice thing is it comes pretty much with the canned ArcLight way of doing it, maybe 60% complete, 70% complete. But we bank on our clients telling us, we like this section, we don't like this section, we'd like to change this one. So they fill in the other 40 to 30% with their requirements, and it becomes a good part of the project so that they get the end result they really like with it. So it is something we can tailor. So really with the lessons learned, right, it speaks to everything we talked about at the beginning with those guiding principles, not trying to customize Oracle, just go by the Oracle playbook for how the system should operate. Absolutely consider doing a pilot go live. We saw immense success with that, with the lessons we learned from the 5 terminals who led the way with that first month that they kind of were the guinea pig for everything. And then, like Paul said, choosing the right SI. Estes did a lot of shopping. I think we were in competition with 3 or 4 other potential system implementers, and we were very proud to win your business and would love to keep working with Estes. So thank you again, team. And then also not only relying on your system implementer, but something Estes did that I think a lot of other clients can do. If you have the resources in-house who know this system, and they have the bandwidth, of course, you should absolutely consider signing them up to be locked into this project just as much as the system implementers are, and have them all working on the same project plan, being assigned different tasks. If there is scope creep and you start to go over on a certain number of deliverables, like say custom reports or custom notifications, or if we're talking recruiting, maybe offer letters, if you have the folks in-house, maybe they don't know it now, but if they can get a training from ArcLight or any system implementer you're working with, and learn it quickly enough to push it along in time for go live, absolutely use them collaboratively with your system implementers. Estes's IT team was very, very good at this, and were really able to help us hit our timeline for things that, like any project, they came up a little later and they were over and above what was originally scoped, but they were able to make it happen, or at least put it on the docket for a phase 1A or a phase 2 shortly after the initial go live. So that's it for the presentation, but I have seen some questions coming through the chat if we want to do a little Q&A now.
David, you want to read those, or would you like me to read them to you? I see that you guys have been answering some of them throughout the presentation.
Yeah, yep. So I think, okay, so we're down to only 2 then. Thank you, everybody who was chiming in there. So the first one I see here is from Arun. Can we talk about the 2-way messaging capabilities? I think at this point, Paul, you might have the most to offer about where that has gone since the go live, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So we leverage the Twilio 2-way communication integration, and I believe that's Recruiting Booster. That falls under, as we did decide to buy both the ORC and the Recruiting Booster at the time when we were rolling it out. And the 2-way communication is nice. You can text or email depending on which preferred method the person signs up for when they fill out their application and things like that. And you can do it directly from the candidate's profile within Oracle. Sorry, we don't have a picture of it, but we can go in there and we can choose compose on an email, compose on a text message, and we can send them a message back and forth. They can send us a message. The way that we configured it, because recruiters aren't just sitting there waiting on them to reply, is we send them a text or an email or what have you, and whenever they do reply to that, the recruiter gets an email saying so-and-so has responded to the message that you sent, and they're able to actually go back in and to that talent profile and be able to then respond to them again timely. So it really does work pretty seamlessly with us anyway, and we found good success getting a hold of candidates much quicker.
And Paul, this is Jonathan. If I could jump in, maybe punching out of my weight class here, but would you say, do you have any metrics about it contributing to candidate stickiness, if you will? Because I think the worst case scenario in some ways is trading voicemails and trading calls, to your earlier example there with candidates, and maybe someone loses interest or miscommunication happens. Do you have any metrics around stickiness since implementing the 2-way messaging, for instance?
No, I don't have any specific metrics. So that one's kind of hard to say, but I know that just by talking to recruiters, they don't play phone tag near as much. don't have some specific numbers to make it sound really good, but they don't miss near as many phone calls. A lot of things end up getting scheduled with them just because they're messaging back and forth instead of missing phone calls. So I know it's better, but I don't have any numbers to share.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Very good feedback there. And then the next one is, would love to hear more about the scheduling and how that was integrated and how it works day to day. So talking about the interview scheduling. And one thing I don't think we mentioned, Paul, is the fact that they get an SMS invite immediately after applying to schedule, right? I don't know if we mentioned that.
No, so and they don't get an invite directly after applying. The way that it works is the recruiter, on our corporate perspective, the recruiter does their screening and, you know, gets in contact with them and, you know, does the feedback form that was created for them. And then those that still qualify then get moved over to first interview. That first interview is the trigger for that notification and that text or email or however they've signed up to get the link to schedule an interview. And then out in the field, we have one more status in the middle there because we do get such large applicant flow. The managers get to choose who they want to move forward to first interview, but that is also still the trigger in the field. But as far as the integration, I can't speak a whole lot about that, but how it works in a day-to-day is, you know, as the managers have gone into Oracle and made sure that their time zone is correct. And they've also went into the interviews tab and making sure that their availability Monday through Friday is set to whatever they want it to be set to. And some restrict it more than others, and some have it wide open 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. It just depends on the manager. And it works with Outlook or 365 with, you know, we're on Azure cloud, but with that, it kind of, it's twofold. It looks at the Oracle preferences, let's say Monday, 8 to 5. And then it also works with your Outlook calendar. So if you have a meeting scheduled from 11 to 12, nobody can schedule an interview that's going to interfere with that. It won't even be an option for them to choose. So every day that it's live. And so it works very well for us. As far as the integration piece, that's not my forte. I can't speak to that part.
Yeah, it really is Oracle's delivered Outlook integration. So easy to set up. And I think one of the nicest things about it is, like Paul said, it's twofold. You don't need to like lock down all your availability in Outlook and clog your calendar. You can set permanent parameters on the Oracle side that make it so that people aren't booking you at 5 p.m. or later, for example, or prior to 9 a.m. You don't need to go into Outlook and do that. You set those rules in Oracle and it cooperates with your true availability in real time in Outlook. So it makes it pretty smooth. Now let's see. So then there was a question about the other features that you use with Booster. So I'd say you guys are using the two-way SMS, the resume parser with ArcLight, the shared interview and automated interview scheduling that you get. And then you're also piloting the chatbot with Digital Assistant right now, but that's not currently live. That's soon to be released. So those are, and the hiring events too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Had to think through what is booster versus non-booster for a sec. But I think it's just about everything except the chatbot at this point, but soon to be coming. And then, so there's a question from Chuck Gardner on how do you monitor and manage the communications in Booster, especially with the two-way, because it's probably a fair amount of responses you get.
Yeah. So, you know, we do yearly trainings here with all the hiring managers from certain perspectives of what they should and they shouldn't say. And is there a way that we specifically monitor that? No. Other than, and fortunately, it hasn't happened for us since going on this, but I also help encourage the recruiters that are in these requisitions and these recs every day and looking at these profiles and messaging them and different things. If they see something that a manager may have said that they may question, you know, let me know. And then we'll manage that on a case-by-case basis. But we have not run into any issue, but there is no way that we specifically monitor it, with reporting or anything like that.
And they don't really fall through the cracks because you get the replies in Outlook. You get notified. And like you said earlier, you can punch back a response out of Outlook. You don't need to log into Oracle, go to the rec, go to the candidate. The two-way can happen out of your inbox in an email dialogue, which is great. And then Arun, I see you have a question here talking more about reducing the barrier or the friction for the entry of the applicant, mentioning that they don't need to go through creating a user ID, a password, easy to start. Yeah, I guess that probably has helped you guys more than anything with reducing drop off, right, Paul?
Yeah, it has. And that, that is the one that I mentioned, Arun, you are correct. But it goes deeper than that. One of the questions that I answered in there from Jane was about various ways that we reduced that time to, apply, and that drop off rate was just taking our application. It was 40 some pages long in Brass Ring, and you had to hit the next page, wait for it to load, and then answer it, hit the next page, wait for it to load. And within Oracle, we were really able to eliminate a lot of that. It's just one continuous page. And we took a lot of the questions that we had and when we created the Brass Ring application, we were going from a paper application, and quite frankly, before my time, I will say, but they just really took the paper application and made it electronic without taking anything away from it, and they continued gathering the information that wasn't necessarily required, but they liked to have it. And we really challenged ourselves, and ArcLight also challenged us pretty heavy on, is this really needed? Do you really need 7 different places where they have to sign an application, or can we wrap it all into one signature? So all of those things combined really shortened the application, and really with the no longer needing passwords and it saving a lot of your information and the autofills, it really helped, open those doors and knock down those barriers, so to speak, Arun, if that answers your question.
Great feedback, Paul. And I believe that's all the questions, and we have reached the end of our time here and all the slides. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Not sure if anybody has any other last questions or thoughts before we let you all go.
And I did answer a question in the chat regarding the recording. We will make the recording available to all of the registrants, and it will be posted on our website.
So thank you, Madeline.
Mhm.
Well, I guess if nothing else, we will let everybody go. And thank you very much for joining, and looking forward to hearing from you if you have any follow-up questions. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.